I accidentally got on a video call with myself from 10 years in the future. I excitedly asked who I end up with. The face on the screen went quiet for a moment before saying the name of my nemesis. I burst out laughing. Wow, I didn't know I'd still have such a great sense of humor in 10 years. Just as I said that, someone else walked into the frame. Honey, who are you talking to? I watched as my nemesis's slightly more mature face appeared, and I completely froze. The scene right now is beyond weird. Ben and I are staring at each other, and I can see the same shock in his eyes that I'm sure is in mine. He's wearing a bathrobe, open at the chest, with one arm wrapped around the future me. After nearly a minute of stunned silence, I let out a piercing shriek. Ben just raised an eyebrow, seemingly more fascinated by my existence. Then he pushed his luck, planting a kiss on her cheek while shooting a taunting look right at me. My world came crashing down. Seeing I was on the verge of a meltdown, my future self immediately jumped in to do damage control. She started trying to explain why she married him by listing all of his good qualities. It was terrifying. It was like my future self had been possessed and didn't even know it. After a few minutes, I couldn't take it anymore and cut her off. I'm so disappointed in you. You know how much I can't stand him right now. I finally graduated and can get away from him, and now you're telling me we get married in 10 years? How is that any different from telling me I'm going to have a psychotic break in 10 years? Maybe she'd been happy for so long she'd forgotten what it was like, but my reminder finally made her remember that Ben and I are currently at each other's throats. The second we see each other, we're rolling our eyes into the back of our heads. She gave me an awkward smile, suddenly at a loss for words. Standing beside her, Ben's lips curved into a smirk as he spoke slowly. You might be in for another disappointment. We go to the same college, too. His eyes were full of smug satisfaction when he said it. The blows kept coming, one after another. I was grinding my teeth so hard they were about to shatter. 10 years later, and he still has that same infuriating face, that one expression that can make my blood boil. I glared at him, but his smile only widened. My future self, seeing my utterly defeated expression, pushed Ben aside and started to console me. Even though we end up together in 10 years, you still have other romantic adventures in the meantime. Now that got my attention. Like who? She propped her chin on her hand, thinking for a moment, then said excitedly, that upperclassman who helps you with your luggage when you move into the dorms. He's tall, handsome, and the student body president. You two start dating not long after. We got caught up in an excited discussion about my first love, completely forgetting about the man standing behind her. You know, my future husband. Her current husband. It wasn't until I glanced over and saw Ben's half-smiling, slightly dark expression that I realized the gravity of the situation. I whispered to my future self. You might want to look behind you. Confused, she turned around to meet Ben's resentful glare. Her smile froze. Then, her brain went into overdrive as she started scrambling for an excuse. Well, actually, he was just okay. And later he started giving you the silent treatment. He really can't compare to your future husband. Seeing it with my own eyes, I finally understood just how obvious my own backpedaling is when I lie. Her fidgeting gave all her anxiety away. Ben let out a cold laugh, reached for the phone, and said to me, let's wrap it up for today. Your future self and I need to settle a few things. He hung up right after he said that. But in the split second before the call ended, I clearly saw him sweep her up into his arms. I stared at the dark screen as wild thoughts and images flooded my brain against my will. I was going to lose my mind. Thanks to my future self, I couldn't sleep a wink. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could see was Ben. The worst part was the class reunion the next day. The even worse part was that Ben would be there, too. I psyched myself up and walked to the karaoke room, the sounds of some god-awful singing leaking out. I pushed the door open, and the music screeched to a halt. When they saw it was me, everyone instinctively turned to look at Ben. Because we were at each other's throats so much, our names were practically linked. The expressions around the room were priceless. Some were ready for the drama. Some were trying not to laugh. And some were even shipping us. Normally, I wouldn't care about any of this. My feelings for Ben were pure hatred. We were sworn enemies. Until last night, when I found out my sworn enemy becomes my husband. That was a little hard to swallow. The couch was already full, with only one empty spot next to Ben. I sighed and resigned myself to my fate, walking over. As I sat down, Ben glanced at me. He noticed the dark circles under my eyes and his brow furrowed almost imperceptibly before he started teasing me. Those are some serious dark circles. Were you tossing and turning all night dreaming about me? Before, I would have snapped back and asked if he was insane. But unfortunately for me, this time, he was right. I felt a guilty heat rise in my cheeks and turned away, muttering, "You're sick." I grabbed an ice-cold Coke from the table, trying to cool myself down. Ben noticed something was off and dropped the joking act, looking at me seriously. His stare made my skin crawl, and I deliberately avoided his gaze. Our classmates, oblivious to the weird vibe between us, dragged Ben up to sing. The moment he stood up, I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. My relief lasted about 2 seconds before my phone buzzed with 2 new messages. From my future self. Figured you're probably at the karaoke reunion right now. I'll let you in on a little secret, Ben's singing that song for you today. Those 2 short lines sent a tidal wave through my heart. Suddenly, the phone in my hand felt scorching hot. My heart was pounding like a drum. I subconsciously looked up and my eyes met Ben's. At the same time, the song title appeared on the screen. The words "Hey There Delilah" slammed into view. The room erupted in cheers and teasing. Ben just kept looking at me until the opening chords began to play. Ben has a great singing voice. That's a fact I have to admit. For a moment, his voice was the only sound in the room. I don't know if it was because of those 2 messages, but I felt like I could perfectly intercept every glance he sent my way. In the dim light, his eyes held a current of emotion I couldn't quite decipher. The song ended. Everyone applauded enthusiastically. A few of the nosier people cornered him, asking if he'd sung that for someone in the room. He didn't deny it, but he didn't confirm it either. He just smiled. Ben sat back down next to me, seeming a little nervous. He clasped his hands together as if psyching himself up. Just as I was wondering what was going on, my phone chimed again. It was future me. This idiot Ben thought that after singing "Hey There Delilah," you'd finally realize he has a crush on you, but you gave him nothing. He wanted to beat around the bush and ask if you caught the hint, but he psyched himself out all night and couldn't get a single word out. If you look closely, you can see he's actually shaking from nerves. I pretended to be nonchalant and glanced over at Ben. Sure enough, his hands were trembling slightly. A smile unconsciously touched my lips, and I leaned a little closer to him. "Ben, why are you shaking?" I asked, my voice laced with mischief. Ben's head snapped up to look at me, and he instinctively scooted away. It wasn't until he saw the sly look in my eyes that he realized I was messing with him. A flash of disappointment crossed his face, but he quickly masked it, retorting as casually as possible, "What's wrong with your eyes? Who shakes from singing a song?" He was trying so hard to act cool. Usually, I'd be mentally tearing him to shreds by now, but this time, I found it weirdly amusing. Looking at the tips of his ears, which were already turning red, felt like I'd discovered a new continent. Now that I finally had an opportunity to get the upper hand, there was no way I was letting it go. I smiled at him, my tone half joking. "Anyone who didn't know better would think you have a crush on me." I didn't miss the shift in his expression. I clearly saw his eyelid twitch, his pupils dilate, the tips of his ears turn blood red, and his fingertips tremble. "No way." Ben immediately whipped his head around, raising his voice to a level that only made it more obvious. Probably feeling his reaction was a bit much, he forced himself to add calmly, "You're overthinking it." Seeing him like this, I had to bite back a laugh. I immediately sent a victory report to my future self. I was totally direct and asked if he has a crush on me. She replied instantly. For real? What did he say? Seriously, she was getting way too invested in shipping her own 10-year younger self. He got all flustered and denied it. She sent back an eye roll emoji. Even through the screen, I could feel my own exasperation. A few minutes passed, and Ben still hadn't recovered. His ears were still bright red, his movements were stiff, and he looked completely distracted. I snapped a secret picture of him and sent it to future me. A moment later, I got a voice message back. I was about to use the speech-to-text feature, but I accidentally hit play on speaker. The voice of future Ben instantly filled the room. Was I really that obvious? Everyone's eyes snapped to me. Ben stared at me from point-blank range. I fumbled awkwardly to turn my phone off but accidentally hit play on the next voice message. No wonder he couldn't get a girlfriend with an act like that. I can just picture his stupid face, wanting to say something but not daring to, trying to play it all cool. Hold on. This guy is so ruthless he even roasts his past self. After a frantic scramble, I finally managed to shut my phone off. Facing everyone's curious stares, I had no choice but to bite the bullet and explain. My brother was just telling me about a friend of his. When he was young, he had a crush on someone but was too proud to admit it, and he ended up wasting 10 years. This wasn't a hint anymore, I was basically spelling it out. Sure enough, the moment I finished speaking, Ben turned his head away, looking incredibly guilty. Everyone else brushed off the interruption, and as soon as the music started again, they went back to fighting over the microphone. Except for Ben. He was really thinking. He thought so hard that about half an hour later, he suddenly blurted out, "So what happened?" I looked at him, confused. What happened with what? Your brother's friend. Did he and his crush ever get together? Of course not. My brother's friend was a real piece of work, kind of like you. He didn't act right when he had a crush, just picked fights with the girl all day long. How could she possibly like him? That's right, I did it on purpose. Even knowing I'd marry Ben in the future, I still couldn't stand him right now. I really couldn't stand him. He couldn't have all the good things happen to him. Hearing what I said, Ben's heart sank. I sighed and said with feigned sympathy, "You know, people should just be direct. Otherwise, a missed chance could last a lifetime." Ben didn't say anything, his lips pressed into a tight line. Then he suddenly looked up, catching me off guard as he stared at me and said, "I like you." I think the room must have been so loud it was making me hear things. The moment Ben spoke, my heart stopped. I held my breath, completely unsure how to react. Why was this guy suddenly being so direct? The tables had turned on me, and I had to say something. Just as I was about to open my mouth, Ben's tense expression suddenly relaxed. Those 3 words aren't so hard to say. Your brother's friend is pretty pathetic. His tone was full of scorn for this friend, but he still didn't dare to look at me. I finally realized he was messing with me. Passing off his true feelings as a joke. He managed to make me laugh out of sheer frustration. I couldn't help but send a message to my future self. Is it convenient for you and Ben to get a divorce right now? She sent back 10 question marks. Seriously, what did that disaster do now? From the tone, I knew it was future Ben. Can you please give the phone back to your wife? I'm trying to talk to her, why are you butting in all the time? You know, it's been a while since you've cussed me out like that. I kind of miss it. For a moment, I couldn't tell who was more messed up, him, or the me who marries him in 10 years. As if having one Ben sitting next to me wasn't enough, the Ben on my phone kept sending me a stream of messages. This life was looking less and less hopeful by the minute. After the reunion, as I was leaving the karaoke place, I got a call from Chloe, who'd missed it because of her graduation trip. Her gossipy tone immediately came through the phone. "So I hear Ben saying, 'Hey there Delilah,' while looking at you tonight?" I tried to deny it, but Chloe immediately sent me a picture. In the photo, Ben and I were looking at each other, and the lyrics on the screen behind us were frozen on "Someone's been in love with you for a while." I remembered only looking at Ben once the entire time. To be able to capture that one glance, these people should have been professional fan photographers. When I didn't say anything, Chloe took it as a confirmation and got even more excited. "I would bet my entire life savings that Ben is totally into you." "Not taking that bet. I can't afford to lose." I got home, showered, and had just gotten into bed when my future self sent me a photo. It was a screenshot of a Twitter account. This guy Ben is so good at hiding things. For 10 whole years, I had no idea he was running this account to post his crush diary until today. I shot up in bed and immediately switched to my burner account to search for the handle. When I found it and went to his profile, the latest post was from 10 minutes ago. "Paid a fortune for this secretly snapped photo from a classmate. How does this not count as our first picture together?" The attached photo was pixelated, but I recognized it instantly as the one Chloe sent me. I then noticed he had hundreds of thousands of followers, and this post already had hundreds of comments. His fans affectionately called him Crush Guy. The comments section was filled with people teasing him. New drop from Crush Guy. Whoa, big moves. Crush Guy actually dared to sing "Hey There Delilah" in front of Mia. That's basically a public confession. This photo is so blurry. Who knows if that's even Mia? Mia rolls her eyes at Crush Guy, and he probably thinks she's winking at him. He sings one song and suddenly he thinks he's getting married again. My name is Mia Johnston. If I'm not mistaken. That Mia is me. Ben seemed used to their tone and just ignored them. The only comment he replied to was one wishing us a happily ever after. Even though I already knew our future relationship wasn't exactly platonic, I still found that comment particularly vicious. After all, nobody wants to be with their nemesis forever. The further I scrolled, the more I understood why everyone called him Crush Guy. Every single post documented his daily interactions with me. From small things like a shared glance or a facial expression, to big things like something I said to him or something we did together. A ripple of emotion inevitably spread through my heart. Before I could even get a little sentimental, a video call request popped up on my phone. The face that appeared was my future self, sobbing her eyes out. She was a total mess, looking completely overcome with emotion. I was just about to say something comforting, when future Ben walked over, wrapped her in his arms, and patted her on the back. Like he'd done it a million times before. Huh? Was I getting hit with PDA from myself? Could you two please be considerate? There's someone who just turned 18 here, I said, a little exasperated. Future Ben was not pleased with my current attitude. You saw all this, and you don't feel anything? Of course I did. But there was no way I was going to admit it. I stubbornly turned my head away. Future Ben just smiled at me. Mia, Ben has been getting on your nerves for so long. Don't you want to get him back? I frowned. Do you have a grudge against yourself? Of course I do. That proud idiot made me miss out on so many years with you. Isn't that enough to hold a grudge? His logic was flawless. I was momentarily speechless. Just do what I say, and I guarantee you'll have him wrapped around your little finger. The method Ben was talking about was for me to pretend to be him from the future and send a DM to the present-day Ben. People really are cruelest to themselves. To even think of such a messed-up idea. To make sure Ben would believe me, he even sent me a dozen selfies and videos. Looking at a screen full of his face, my expression soured. To avoid looking like a scammer, I decided to first get Ben's attention. After some thought, I sent him a message. You have a crush on Mia Johnston. I waited all night, but Ben had vanished off the face of the earth. It wasn't until the next morning when I checked my phone that I saw he'd sent me a dozen messages at 4 a.m. Who are you? Who told you? I do not have a crush on Mia Johnston. Hello? Can you see this? I said I don't like her. Okay, fine, maybe I like her a little. Can you please not tell her? Was I too obvious last night? I knew I shouldn't have sung that song. So who are you? Seeing the wall of text, I finally saw my chance. A smile spread across my face as I typed, "I'm you from 10 years in the future." This time, Ben replied instantly. "Dude, come on. Haven't I been sincere enough? Why are you treating me like an idiot?" I immediately fired back one of future Ben's selfies. Ben still didn't believe me, saying it was AI generated. He picked a great time to get smart. I sent him a few more pictures from different angles before he was finally convinced. Ben thought it over for a long time before he couldn't resist asking, "So, how are things between me and Mia Johnston now?" There was no way I was going to let him know his crush eventually works out. I was deliberately vague. "She's married, and you're married." Ben immediately panicked and sent me a voice message. Before I was ready, his wailing filled my ears. I felt like my ears had been violated. "Please don't send me voice messages. You're making my phone sound horrible." Ben didn't listen and continued his voice message assault. "Are you crazy? Aren't we the same person? You complain about everything, and now you're complaining about me? You're useless. 10 years and you still couldn't win Mia over. What good are you?" After being Ben's nemesis for so many years, I had a conditioned reflex. The second I heard him yelling, even if he was yelling at himself, my instincts took over and I immediately fired back. "You've got some nerve. Who's the one who was too stubborn to confess his feelings? Who knows who you were even singing to? Would it kill you to just say you like her? If you hadn't screwed up the foundation so badly, how could I have failed to win her over?" Ben was still fuming. "You gotta play the hand you're dealt and then some. If you knew you had a bad personality when you were younger, you should have changed. Did you not grow at all in 10 years? No wonder Mia doesn't like you, and she doesn't like me either. Wait, who's her husband now? Is he better looking than us?" He talked himself into a rage, his voice rising. I had no intention of letting him off the hook. "What do you care if he's better looking than you? At least Mia likes him." I don't know if that line hit him too hard, but Ben didn't reply for a long time. So long that I started to wonder if I'd gone too far. Just as I was about to try and make up for it, a new message popped up. "So, is she happy now?" I stared at the blinking cursor in the chat box, momentarily lost. From the moment I found out I'd marry Ben, nothing has hit me harder than that message. Because it felt like I finally got a glimpse of the cautious, careful way Ben liked me. Seeing that I hadn't replied, Ben started talking to himself. "If she's happy now, then I can forgive you for not ending up with her. After all, the fact that she doesn't like me is something neither you nor I can change, no matter how many years pass. Ben and I have known each other since we were kids, and we started being at each other's throats in middle school. For all these years, he's always been this goofy, annoying, carefree guy in my eyes. I never thought he would say something like that." Deep inside me, something was starting to take root. Seeing that Ben was about to give up, I immediately changed my tune. "What are you talking about? I didn't contact you just so you could play the selfless guy who gives up the girl. I'm here to help you fight for her. You are going to win Mia over this time." Those few sentences reignited Ben's passion. He sent me a dozen hype emojis in a row. He was fired up. But I wasn't sure what he was fired up about. Things were starting to spiral out of my control. I had no idea how I'd somehow ended up helping Ben pursue me. By the time I realized what I had done, it was too late. I sent the chat history to my future self and was rewarded with her merciless laughter. Future Ben, however, was not impressed. "This kid has it way too good. I didn't have these kinds of advantages back in my day. His crush is personally coaching him on how to woo her. How is that any different from just getting together? So in the end, I'm the only one who had to suffer through the unrequited crush. People really can't empathize with their past selves." With my help, Ben was so happy he posted on Twitter, "My future self is coming to help me pursue Mia. I have a feeling this time it's going to work. The replies were all calling him crazy. And there goes another one. You believing he's your future self is like me believing I'm the first emperor of China. I'm actually curious about who this Mia is. How did she make the OP lose his mind like this? Which one of you bros is this? So uncool. You see, this guy is head over heels and you trick him with such a lame stunt, and he actually believes it. Amidst all the negative comments, one caught my eye. Am I the only one who's curious how Crush Guy, who likes Mia so much, managed to mess things up so badly that they became nemesis? He wasn't the only one who was curious. I was too. All I knew for sure was that Ben started it all. On one ordinary afternoon, his face turned beet red, and after struggling for a long time, he finally managed to choke out, "I hate you." And so began our years-long war. I sent a screenshot of the comment to Ben. His reply was a bit dejected. You should know, shouldn't you? When I realized I had strange feelings for Mia, I panicked and classified them as hate. But as we kept bickering, I gradually realized I liked her, but by then it was too late. The sound of Ben's regretful voice echoed in the room. His low tone sent a shiver down my spine. My heart began to beat uncontrollably as an answer started to break through the surface. Every little thing he'd recorded on his Twitter flashed before my eyes. Even though I hadn't tried to remember them, they were all crystal clear. In that moment, I finally realized that I might have made the exact same mistake as Ben. I told my future self about this terrifying thought, and she gave me a relieved smile. You're a bit better than me. It took me almost 10 years to figure out my own feelings, but it only took you a month. Future Ben was not happy about this. What's that supposed to mean? You two had a mutual secret crush. Did that kid steal my luck or something? So the sweet part comes first, then the bitter means the younger me gets the sweet and the older me gets the bitter? He grumbled on and on until he worked himself into a rage. My future self had to hang up to go calm him down. Those two were so wrapped up in their own romance, they completely forgot about me and Ben. It wasn't until Chloe came back from her trip and brought up Ben that things came to a head. I swear I only paused for a second when I heard his name. Other than that, I acted no different than usual. But Chloe took that 1-second pause as proof that something had happened between me and Ben. After her relentless questioning, I had no choice but to admit that I might like Ben. She wasn't surprised at all. Big news. Anyone with eyes can see you two like each other. No offense, but you guys are blind. I've never seen a normal person talk about someone they hate all the time. When we talk, every other sentence out of your mouth is about Ben. I'm sick of hearing it, even if you're not sick of saying it. Her words made me start to doubt myself. Is it that obvious? Chloe glanced at me and continued, It's fine, I guess. Compared to Ben, you're subtle. Ben's eyes are practically glued to you. According to an inside source, when he sang that song the other night, he glanced at you dozens of times in just a few minutes. Does he really think he's being discreet? Chloe got more and more worked up, a look of utter exasperation on her face. I can't believe you figured it out on your own. I thought we'd have to wait another 10 years for your wedding. She wasn't wrong. There was just a slight wrinkle in the timeline. Just as Chloe was about to continue her rant, my phone's video ringtone went off. Chloe grabbed my phone from me but accidentally hit answer. A face popped up on the screen. When Chloe saw who it was, she looked at me with an expression of betrayal. Mia Johnston, you're so shady. You got together with Ben and didn't tell me? I was completely confused. I'm not with him. Still denying it? He's in a bathrobe video calling you. What do you call that if not together? She went to shove the phone in my face but then saw someone else on the screen. Someone who looked exactly like me. Chloe stared blankly for a full minute, then her voice trembled as she said, I think I'm seeing a ghost. I finally realized who was calling. Sure enough, on the screen, my future self and Ben were laughing their heads off. It took Chloe half an hour to accept the fact that I could communicate with my future self. She looked at the two of them on the screen and said expectantly, "Can you two kiss?" For me. Does she even hear herself? I lunged forward and covered her mouth. Even for two people in their late 20s who had seen it all, Chloe's painfully direct request was a shock. I shot Chloe a death glare, and she finally quieted down. She then eagerly started asking how Ben and I got together. Upon learning that we'd wasted 10 years, she looked at Ben with contempt. All show and no go. It took you 10 years? Pigs could fly in that amount of time. What took you so long? Future Ben's mouth twitched. Okay, that's enough. You must have said that 800 times at our wedding. How have you not changed at all in all these years? He successfully provoked Chloe's wrath. What's that attitude? You want me to stop the present you from confessing right now? Go right ahead. You should probably run. I'd love that. Seeing Ben's indifferent expression, Chloe finally understood. Some people get jealous of their own selves from 10 years ago. Well, sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not going to let you have your way. I'm going to play matchmaker for them right now just to spite you. The two of them went back and forth, arguing non-stop. I was finally witnessing what a true nemesis relationship looked like. The scene was getting completely out of control. I quickly ended the video call, finally stopping the war. To play matchmaker for me and Ben, Chloe immediately organized a party. Ben was very pleased with this. He confidently DM'd me, saying he was going to show off his skills. But when he saw me, he couldn't even lift his head, instead frantically messaging his future self for help. Seeing him like this, I deliberately replied, "Go big or go home. Why don't you just confess today?" Ben's eyes widened. Today? You're not kidding, are you? You're not just trying to drag me down with you because you didn't get with Mia, are you? This guy was surprisingly sharp sometimes. Ben and I were deep in conversation on our phones. To Chloe, we just looked like two phone addicts who turned into ostriches with their heads in the sand at the sight of their crush. This drove her crazy, and she immediately dragged us over to play a game. She pulled out 2 lie detectors from somewhere and put them on the table. She called out me and Ben to go first. Everyone's eyes immediately lit up with gossip. We were pushed into the spotlight and had no choice but to put our hands on the machine. A sly glint appeared in Chloe's eyes. I had a bad feeling about this. Sure enough, the next second, her voice rang out. You've known all along that we've been shipping you and Ben and even writing fanfiction, right? The people around us went wild with excitement. Everyone had a knowing smile, except for a clueless Ben. I gritted my teeth and answered yes. The lie detector didn't go off. But Chloe wasn't about to let me off the hook. Not only do you know about the fanfiction, but you've read it yourself, right? The room was filled with whoops and hollers. Chloe's eyes were locked on me, her stare so intense my palms started to sweat. Finally, I threw caution to the wind and nodded in admission. You really can't blame me. Blame the people who wrote it so well. So well that it's only human for me to have taken a peek. With 2 questions, Chloe successfully cranked the mood up to 11. Getting the answer she wanted, she finally turned her attention to Ben. Ben swallowed nervously, looking like a lamb to the slaughter. Chloe looked at him and asked her first question. You've always been at odds with Mia just to get her attention, haven't you? Ben instinctively glanced at me, seemingly surprised that Chloe would be so direct. He thought for a moment before squeezing out a yes from between his teeth. The lie detector remained silent. The classmates watching all looked like their ship had come true, practically bouncing in their seats. Chloe's lips curved into a triumphant smile. She delivered the final, soul-crushing question. You like Mia Johnston, right? Everyone held their breath, waiting for his answer. The room was so quiet I could only hear Ben's increasingly heavy breathing. He instinctively looked at me. I looked up, and our eyes met. Ben seemed to summon all his courage. His voice trembled, but his gaze was unusually firm. Yes, I like her. The moment he finished, the lie detector blared. A small electric current zapped Ben, making his wrist tremble. But he ignored the pain in his hand and shot up, anxiously explaining, "This lie detector is broken. I like you, really. Mia Johnston, I really like you." He was so afraid I would misunderstand that he repeated like several times. Chloe was off to the side, trying to hold back her laughter. I felt like something was off. I looked down and, sure enough, I saw the lie detector's remote in her hand. When Ben saw I wasn't reacting, he looked like he was about to cry. At a loss, he pulled out his phone and opened his Twitter profile. "It's true. I've liked you for a long time. I write about my crush on you every day." Hearing this, everyone in the room grabbed their phones and started searching for Ben's handle. Ben paid them no mind, staring straight at me. There were tears welling in his eyes. I finally couldn't bear to tease him anymore and gave him a smile. "I know. I found out a while ago. I've read all 100+ posts on that account. Every single one." Ben seemed to know what my answer would be and didn't dare to hope for my agreement. Instead, he started fighting for a chance. A chance to move from the role of nemesis to that of a suitor. "I know you don't like me, that you can't stand me, but I still want to try. You probably won't believe this, but I added someone who said he was me from 10 years in the future. In 10 years, you're married, and I'm married, and we're still not together. Even though I expected it, I'm still not ready to give up." His head drooped lower and lower as he spoke. The light cast a lonely shadow over him. I watched as a tear fell from his eye and hit the floor, completely unsure how to react. Chloe, who had witnessed the whole thing, pushed me forward. I pulled out the wedding photo of my future self and him that I'd saved in my gallery and handed it to Ben. My voice was inexplicably nervous. "It's us who get married. Ben, I like you too." Like a drowning man finally grabbing a life raft, Ben looked up at me, tears still clinging to his eyelashes. Chloe produced 2 confetti cannons from somewhere. Colorful streamers rained down, enveloping us as time stood still. After getting together with Ben, I came clean about everything. He learned about our future selves, too. The first time Ben met future Ben, it was like World War III. The moment future Ben saw him, he scoffed. "You needed all that backup just to say, 'I like you'? Pathetic." Ben wasn't about to back down. The guy who dithered for 10 years has some nerve talking. That's hilarious. If I hadn't shown up, you probably wouldn't have won her over in another 10 years. Don't blame others for your own shortcomings. Is it that hard to admit someone else is better than you? Future Ben's competitive streak flared, and he shoved 2 marriage certificates at the camera. "We're legally married, you get it? Do you know what legal means?" Ben was envious but still shot back, "They look so new. You must have just gotten them. If I were you, we'd be celebrating our 5th wedding anniversary by now." "Wedding anniversary," future Ben sneered. "I remember you guys are about to start college, right? She still has that upperclassman first love waiting for her." What was wrong with this guy? He gets provoked and immediately tries to change the subject. Sure enough, Ben turned to look at me, his expression wounded. I immediately passed off the hot potato. "Don't look at me. I'm not the one who dated some upperclassman." "Wow, so not cool. You're just going to throw me under the bus?" My future self sounded so betrayed. "How is that my fault? It's your husband who had to run his mouth. Your boyfriend isn't much better, is he?" We argued for a bit before we realized what was happening. Those 2 had just passed the blame on to us. We glared at them, and they each pulled us into an embrace. Future Ben looked at his past self and said, "Be good to her." Past Ben replied, "You too." That was the first and last time the 4 of us met. After that day, they vanished into thin air. As if they had never been there at all. But I know. No matter which timeline, whether it's 10 years ago or 10 years from now, we are all loving each other, just as we should be.